Throughout the last year and a half, Blizzard has changed a lot of cards, and in the light of the Patron nerf, I decided to talk briefly about the successes and failures of Blizzard when it comes to changing cards. So today I'll be talking about the top 10 worst changes Blizzard has made to cards in Hearthstone. Number 10, when you want to raise the skill ceiling of Hearthstone, I think there are two key elements of difficulty: the variety of strategies and the difficulty of the strategies. Now, playing a Sweater on turn 4 or a Dr. Boom on turn 7 isn't really all that hard, but carefully choosing a 2 or 3 drop when there are 5 or 6 viable ones is. The PINT-SIZED Summoner is a perfect example of a card that wasn't too strong, similar to the DALARAN Aspirant, and added variety to the 2 drop slot, but with its nerf it became considerably too weak and a much weaker version of the DALARAN Aspirant. A very unnecessary nerf. Number 9, Master of Disguise. A 4/3 minion giving stealth was strong, but comboed with backstab that could target any minion, Adrenaline Rush, and the old Edwin, the Miracle Rogue was way too strong and dominated the ladder. Blizzard came in with a widespread nerf of the class, trying to balance things out, and a sad effect of that was the nerf of the Master of Disguise to becoming unusable as it is today. Recently, Blizzard has been working hard on introducing minions to the rogue class to make a minion-based rogue happen in form of, for example, Raptor and Tomb Pillager, and that leaves the old Master of Disguise a sad case of what could have been. Number 8, the Captain's Parrot. Now, Pirate Warrior was briefly considered a strong deck, and the idea was to go face over and over again, which resulted in many wins until people started putting taunt minions into their decks. Now, the Captain's Parrot was always a cool addition to any pirate deck, but its 1/1 stat line, it is simply a novice engineer. If the Captain's Parrot had a small bonus of having 2 health, being able to trade with a 1-drop with a dying to hero power, it might be the small buff that pirate decks need, as they haven't been seeing that much play in competitive spirit, so I feel like having 2 health on the Captain's Parrot would only be a good thing. The DALARAN MAGE, another missed opportunity. At the time of the beta there was a problem with only one card being clearly too strong for each mana slot. 5 mana Sylvanas, 6 mana Karen, 3 mana Shattered Sun. The 3 mana slot was dominated by the Shattered Sun, with Harvest Golem coming in close second. Now, DALARAN MAGE as a 2/4 was an interesting third option to Rogue and Druid, and maybe even Mage, but as a 1/4 it's simply unplayable. Could we be seeing maybe DALARAN MAGE being an option? For example, maybe with a backstab. I could see it being alright, but as a 1/4, yeah, it's maybe playable for 2 mana, but certainly not 3 mana. The BLOOPMP was one of the defining cards of the beta, and one of the main reasons that Handlock was alone in tier 1 for a good part of the beta. The inevitable nerf was badly handled though, even though it was needed. It is a perfect example of going too far when the card is taken from being too strong to being unplayable. One of the main issues is that the Young Priestess is simply clearly better. TINKMASTER OVERSPARK, the most hated of the early months of Vanilla. A card that was often played by both players and ended up deciding most games when that was the situation. If you got a 5/5 and your opponent got a 1/1, the game was essentially over, because a free Blessing of Kings is generally more than enough to swing a close game one way or another. The BUZZARD team seemed to want to keep the randomness theme of the card, but did so at the expense of its viability in the competitive scene. So the card was nerfed to the ground. It saw a brief resurgence when people searched for an answer for Stealth Gadgetzan, but it never really caught on. Number 4. Oh, the almighty Chart, the card that defined the strongest burst tech of all time. The nerf was coming and everyone knew it, because if you had a Gorehowl, an Alexstrasza plus charge combo would take your opponent from 30 health to 0 health on 1 turn. The charge is a great example though of going too far, because at 3 mana cost the card was simply way too expensive. The card actually had some good utility before. Guaranteeing a 2-for-1 trade with a minion was often worth the card, and also gave a slight tempo edge. And I feel a better nerf would have been to make it uncastable minions that cost more than 5 mana, for example, but that's just my opinion. HEADCRACK, number 3, is a sad example of the rogue nerf patch in the beta going way too far. This time, however, it's even worse than Master of Disguise, where it doesn't go from overpowered to unplayable, it simply goes from balanced to unplayable. This card has been forgotten, and with its great art, I feel now would be a great time to simply undo the change and add more cards to the rogue, which has been a class that doesn't see much play for months at a time now. If we look at the HEADCRACK for 2 mana even, 2 damage to an enemy hero with the combo, it wouldn't even be that bad really. because there are faster options, but this would be a more controlled late game option. Number 2, the starting BUZZARD. Now there's playing safe and there's playing safe, and when midrange and aggro hunters have been dominating the ladder and tournament play for months, Blizzard decided to play it safe. The starting BUZZARD featured on one of my most overpowered card lists, and the 1/2 nerf didn't do it, so Blizzard decided to go all out and make it a 5 mana cost creature. At the time this was a welcome change, but everyone saw that this went way further than was necessary, and at 5 mana it would just never be played. The change was the opposite of the Sylvanas nerf, or the Force Nature nerf featured last week, when the card is kept playable, but here it's just not playable for 4 mana, and it goes even further into territory of being unplayable from a wipe spinner. That's pretty sad. Now what could top the 5 mana starting BUZZARD, you might think? And the answer had to be the Warsong Commander. Historically, the card that has been most overpowered for the longest amount of time. After the Patron deck was running rampant for months, Blizzard decided to fix it right before BlizzCon and nerf it to the ground. The card is now just not bad, but it's even funny how bad it is. The 2/3 stat is pretty average for a 2-drop, but they had to do something extra due to There's a Zombie Chow and Twilewell, and as a 3-drop it dies to other 3-drops like Spiral Tank Raptors easily. But not only is the stat line of 2/3 weak for 3 mana, but the ability is also really weak if compared to the Earthen Ring, SI, Unearth Raptor. What seems to add insult to injury is the fact that the warrior doesn't have cheap chargers that might benefit from this ability, and going for a 7 mana combo of Warsong and Korkron, giving it 1 extra attack, just sounds absurd. The card is essentially on par with Abusive, with a weaker ability but a stronger stat line. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked the video, make sure to check out my top 10 lists on this channel. I'll be bringing you guys next up the 5 rarest cards in Hearthstone, so stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching.